They told us Pinocchio was a story about honesty. But the truth? It began as a death tale. A puppet hanged for his sins and haunted by the souls of the dead. Tonight, we're peeling back the smiling mask Disney gave us to reveal the rotting wood underneath. The real story of Pinocchio isn't magical or heartwarming. It's Italian death folklore, born from guilt, punishment, and fear. We'll uncover how this innocent wooden boy was once a symbol of sin, made to scare children into obedience, and how his creator may have been inspired by tales of possessed puppets and death imagery long before Disney cleaned it up. Keep watching, because what you're about to hear will forever change the way you see that wooden puppet. Before the Blue Fairy, before the songs and happy ending, Carlo Collodi's original Pinocchio from 1881 was a nightmare dressed as a bedtime story. In the first version, Pinocchio doesn't become a real boy. He dies, hanged from a tree by bandits. Collodi ended the story there, lifeless, swaying in the wind, as a warning to disobedient children. This wasn't fiction for fun. It was a lesson, a brutal one, a punishment story written in the shadow of Catholic Italy, where fear, not love, was how you shaped a soul. Pinocchio wasn't a hero. He was a sinner made of wood, a soul trapped, suffering for his arrogance. To understand Pinocchio's darkness, we have to go back, before Collodi ever picked up his pen. In old Italian villages, people whispered about burattini, wooden puppets that moved on their own. They said these dolls were made from cursed wood, inhabited by the spirits of dead children. When Collodi wrote about a piece of wood that laughed and cried before being carved, he wasn't creating fantasy. He was referencing a folk superstition that the dead could speak through wood. Every part of Pinocchio's birth is drenched in that same death symbolism. Geppetto didn't give life. He stole it, carving a child out of cursed timber, creating life without divine blessing. It's Frankenstein before Frankenstein, a man trying to play God, and the punishment that followed. Collodi filled his story with images of death that most people missed. Pinocchio is hanged, burned, and drowned, over and over. Each time he returns. Not because he's lucky, but because he's trapped, a soul unable to rest. When he lies, his nose grows, a living symbol of guilt, like a corpse rotting in public view. Every act of disobedience pushes him closer to becoming a lifeless object again. And then there's the cricket. Everyone remembers Jiminy, the cheerful conscience. But in the original story, Pinocchio kills him with a hammer in the first few pages. In Italian folklore, crickets were said to carry the souls of the dead, or warn of death if silenced. So when Pinocchio kills the cricket, he literally murders his conscience and cuts himself off from redemption. From that moment, he's cursed to wander between life and death. When the Blue Fairy appears, she isn't what Disney showed us. In Collodi's writing, she's ghostly pale, with a wax-like face and cold hands. When Pinocchio meets her for the first time, she tells him she's dead, and that she's waiting for her coffin. Let that sink in. The Blue Fairy is death itself, a psychopomp, the spiritual guide who decides when the soul can finally be freed. She doesn't grant wishes, she delivers judgment. Each time Pinocchio meets her, it's not a moment of hope. It's a confrontation with his own mortality. Only when he learns to obey to surrender does she allow him to become real. That's not magic. That's repentance. Through the whole story, Pinocchio isn't alive or dead. He's in between. Like a soul in purgatory, punished until he's pure enough to be reborn. Collodi, a former soldier and Catholic moralist, wrote this during a time when Italy used religion to control behavior. So the message was simple. Disobey your father, and your body becomes wood. Lie, and your soul rots. Obey, and maybe one day you'll become real. It's not about love. It's about submission. Pinocchio's suffering wasn't a trial for innocence. It was an exorcism of sin. And when he finally wakes up as a human boy, it's less a happy ending and more like a ghost finally leaving its coffin. The earliest drawings of Pinocchio from 1883 are nothing like the cartoon. Enrico Mazzanti's sketches show him with sharp, hollow eyes, long limbs, and a ghoulish grin. He doesn't look like a child. He looks like something pulled out of a coffin and forced to dance. Those early readers didn't see a cute puppet. They saw a corpse boy, punished and resurrected over and over until he learned obedience. Disney replaced that horror with joy, but the bones of the story still remain, buried under the song and color. So what was Collodi trying to say? That life itself is a moral test, that the soul must suffer to earn forgiveness, that those who rebel become hollow. Pinocchio isn't a story about dreams coming true. It's a warning from the grave. A puppet who was never supposed to live, only to remind us what happens when we play God. Behind the smile lies a corpse. Behind the magic lies punishment. And behind the fairy tale lies death. If you thought this story was dark, wait until you see what Disney tried to hide in the playlist on screen now.